Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Vanessa Price. I am 27 years old, and this is the story of how my world collapsed one January night on my birthday in front of all of our friends, and how piece by piece, I built something better from the ruins. Brandon and I had been together for 6 years. 6 years of my life dedicated to a man I thought I knew completely. 6 years believing I was building a future with my partner, my best friend, the love of my life. I see now that I was building a fantasy, and he was happy to let me do all the heavy lifting. We met at a mutual friend's house party when I was 21. It was one of those crowded nights in a small townhouse near downtown Atlanta. Music a little too loud, people squeezed into the kitchen and living room. I was standing by the snack table, trying to decide if the queso looked safe, when this tall guy with an easy laugh and a smile that looked like it belonged in a toothpaste commercial walked over. "You look like you are doing serious risk assessment on that dip," he said, picking up a tortilla chip. "I am Brandon, by the way." I laughed despite myself. "Vanessa," I said. "And yes, I am. That cheese has seen things." He grinned and put the chip back down. "Smart. I like that. Risk management and good hair. You are already out of my league." We ended up on a couch in the corner, talking for hours while people came and went around us. He told me he worked in marketing, picking up freelance projects for small businesses, and that he had a dream of making a living posting prank and comedy videos online with his best friend, Jerome. "I want to make people laugh all over the country," he said, eyes bright. "Imagine getting paid to do that." I thought it sounded exciting, bold, ambitious. I had just started my job as an account manager at a digital bank in Atlanta. I liked that he had a dream, that he wanted more than a 9 to 5. The first year together was sweet. Brandon was charming, attentive, and funny in a way that made everything feel lighter. He would show up at my apartment with cheap flowers and homemade cupcakes, and we would sit on my couch watching movies while he made jokes about the characters. When he talked about his future, he made it sound like I was automatically part of it. "When my videos blow up, we are going to travel everywhere," he would say. "You will not have to worry about anything." After 3 years of dating, we decided to move in together. We found a small but cozy apartment in a trendy neighborhood in Atlanta, not far from the Beltline. The rent was steep for what it was, but splitting it made it manageable. At least that was the plan. I had a stable salary, benefits, and a clear career path. Brandon's income came in waves. One month he would land a marketing project that paid well. The next month he would barely cover his own bills. It did not take long before the pattern started. "Ness, I am a little short this month," he would say, rubbing the back of his neck. The client delayed payment. "I will catch up next time." When he could not pay his half of the rent, I paid the whole thing. When he needed new equipment for his camera setup, I helped him buy it. When he did not have money to go out, I covered dinner, movies, gas. "We are a team," I would tell him whenever he looked guilty. "We are investing in our future." I meant it. I believed that when things finally took off for him, we would celebrate together. There were signs even then, but I did not want to see them. Brandon had strong opinions about almost everything we did. He chose what we watched, where we ate, and which friends we saw most. If I suggested something different, he would sigh dramatically and say, "Vanessa, you always complicate things." I am trying to keep it simple. I told myself I was being understanding, that compromise was part of a healthy relationship. I confused shrinking with loving. Over time, his comments about me became sharper. "You are really going to wear that to work?" he would ask, looking me up and down. "That dress is a little tight for a professional office." If I came home with my natural hair out, he would pinch his lips. "You know they are conservative at your job. You might want to straighten it if you want that promotion." He said it was concern. I told myself he was trying to help. Deep down, a small part of me shrank each time. Marriage was something I wanted clearly and openly. We were already living together, sharing expenses, sharing a life. I wanted a husband, not a permanent boyfriend. For the last year of our relationship, I dropped hints and then stopped hinting altogether. "We have been together 5 years," I told him once over dinner. "Do you ever think about getting married?" He shrugged. "Of course. I just do not want to rush something that serious. We need to be in the right place financially. When my videos really take off, I want to do it big for you." My birthday that January fell on a Friday. I took the day off work, expecting something simple. A movie, maybe a quiet dinner. The night before, I fell asleep wondering if he would finally ask me to marry him. I would have denied it if anyone asked, but deep inside, I was hoping. I had even made a joking comment months earlier, while we watched a romantic comedy proposal scene. "If you ever propose," I said, wiggling my fingers, "make sure my nails are done. I am not letting anyone put a ring on a chipped manicure." He laughed and said, "Noted, Miss Price. Perfect nails for the big moment." That morning, Brandon woke up before I did, which was rare. He came into the bedroom with a tray of pancakes, fruit, and coffee. "Good morning, birthday girl," he said, leaning over to kiss my forehead. "Get ready for the best day of your life." My heart sped up. "What are you plotting?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "You will see," he said. "First stop is a spa appointment. Massage, facial, nails, the works. All covered. Just enjoy your day." The spa was bliss. For hours, I let strangers massage months of tension out of my shoulders, steam my face, and file my nails into neat ovals. I chose a soft, elegant pink with a French tip, and when the nail technician tilted my hand toward the light, my chest tightened. "They are beautiful," she said. "Special occasion?" I swallowed. Something like that. Every time I glanced at my own hands after that, I imagined a ring that was not there yet. When I got back to the apartment that afternoon, Brandon was dressed nicely in a dark shirt and slacks. The living room smelled like his cologne, warm and familiar. "Tonight we are having dinner with the crew," he said, smiling. "Wear that blue dress I like. The one from Jamal's wedding." I nodded, my pulse pounding. That dress made me feel like the best version of myself. If he wanted me in that dress, at our favorite restaurant on my birthday, after a full spa day, every sign pointed in one direction. I took my time getting ready. I styled my hair carefully, applied my makeup with extra care, and slipped into the blue dress and heels. When I looked in the mirror, I felt radiant, nervous, and hopeful all at once. I whispered to my reflection, "Please let this be it." I tried to calm myself on the ride to the restaurant, but every streetlight felt like a countdown. The restaurant was an Italian place in Buckhead where we had our first date. When we walked in, several of our friends were already there, sitting at a long table near the back. Jerome was there with his girlfriend, some friends from my job, a few couples we often went out with. There was laughter, the clinking of glasses, the smell of garlic and wine in the air. Everyone seemed in a good mood, almost excited. I wondered if they knew something I did not. I could barely eat. My fork pushed pasta around my plate, while my eyes kept drifting to Brandon. He was being extra attentive, squeezing my hand, brushing his thumb over my knuckles, kissing my cheek. Every time he shifted in his chair, I thought, this is it. Then he would crack another joke, and everyone would laugh, and my heart would drop back into my stomach. The anticipation was so intense it almost made me dizzy. After dessert, Brandon stood up. The table quieted, and slowly the whole restaurant did, as people realized what was happening. He glanced at the staff, and someone turned the music down. My face grew hot, and my hands began to tremble. He picked up his glass and cleared his throat. "Vanessa," he said, voice steady. "We have been together for 6 years. 6 incredible years full of laughter, adventures, and love." Tears pricked my eyes immediately. "You are my best friend, my partner, the person who stands by my side through everything," Brandon continued. "You support my dreams. You give me strength when I need it. You make me want to be a better man." He walked around the table and stopped in front of me. My friends were watching with wide eyes, some already tearing up. My chest felt too tight to breathe. Brandon got down on one knee. Somewhere behind me a stranger whispered, "Oh my God." My heart hammered so hard I thought I might faint. "Vanessa," he said, looking straight into my eyes. "I love you more than anything in this world. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you." He reached into his pocket, and the room seemed to freeze. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," I shouted before I had even seen the ring. Tears streamed down my cheeks. "Yes, yes, yes." Relief, joy, and disbelief crashed over me in a wave. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. And then, in an instant, the floor dropped out. Brandon jumped to his feet, threw his arms in the air, and shouted, "It is a prank!" The room fell completely silent. The word echoed in my head, colliding with my yes still hanging in the air. I stared at him, my tears still falling, my brain struggling to catch up. "What?" I whispered. "It was a prank, baby." "Relax," he laughed, wiping at his eyes as if he had tears of laughter. "Jerome, did you get it?" I turned to the side and saw Jerome standing there, phone in his hand, recording with a huge smile. "I got everything, man," Jerome said. This is going to go crazy online. A few people at other tables shifted uncomfortably. Some of our friends looked stunned. Others avoided my eyes. I could not move. I could not speak. My body felt frozen while my mind raced, and then stalled completely. I had said yes in front of everyone. I had cried in front of everyone. And it had all been a joke. "Vanessa, you should have seen your face," Brandon said, laughing as he sat back down. That was perfect. Something inside me broke cleanly, like glass dropped on concrete. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the floor. My vision blurred with fresh tears. I grabbed my purse with trembling hands and walked away from the table without saying a word. I could hear Brandon calling my name behind me, but I kept going, weaving past tables, out through the double doors and into the cool night air. As soon as I stepped onto the sidewalk, the sobs hit. These were not gentle tears. They were harsh, wrenching sobs that shook my entire body. I leaned against the side of the building, trying to catch my breath. People on the street glanced at me, then away. I fumbled with my phone, fingers shaking as I tried to open the rideshare app. I could barely type my address. Brandon burst out of the restaurant doors a minute later. "Vanessa, wait," he called, jogging toward me. "What is the problem?" It was just a joke. I turned to him, my face wet, my chest burning. "A joke," I managed to say. "You think that was a joke?" "I gave you a spa day," he said, like he was presenting evidence. "I organized dinner with everybody. I did all of this for you. You cannot be mad about a little prank." Anger surged through me, hot and sharp. "You humiliated me," I shouted, not caring that people on the sidewalk were watching. "In front of our friends. In front of strangers. You pretended to propose, knowing how much that means to me, just so you could get a reaction for your video." "You are overreacting," Brandon said, rolling his eyes. "You need to relax. It is not that deep." My ride pulled up to the curb, headlights washing over us. I stepped toward the car and opened the door. "If you post that video," I said quietly, every word heavy, "I swear to God, Brandon, you will regret it." "I am not joking." Then I got in and slammed the door before he could answer. I cried the entire ride home. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror once, then turned the music up a little, giving me silence without questions. When we pulled up to the apartment, I thanked him in a hoarse voice and went upstairs. Inside, I locked the door, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed on the bed still wearing the blue dress and smeared makeup. I cried until my head throbbed and my throat hurt, and at some point exhaustion pulled me into a restless sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of the front door opening. Brandon came in, his footsteps uneven, keys clattering on the counter. I could smell alcohol even from the bedroom. Part of me wanted to storm out and demand an apology, but I stayed in the dark, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in 6 years, I asked myself if I really knew the man I was living with. The answer that surfaced terrified me. Over the next few days, the silence in the apartment felt heavy and unnatural. I left early for work, came home late, and stayed mostly in the bedroom with the door closed. Brandon stayed in the living room, playing video games, scrolling on his phone, or editing clips on his laptop. He acted like nothing had happened. The only acknowledgement was a small, irritated sigh when I passed him. On the third day, he finally came to the doorway of the bedroom and leaned against the frame. "Vanessa, we need to talk," he said. I did not look up from the spreadsheet on my laptop. "So talk." He exhaled loudly. "You are not really going to be mad at me forever over this nonsense, are you?" My head snapped up. "This nonsense?" I repeated. "You humiliated me in public. You faked a proposal, knowing exactly how I felt for a prank. That is not nonsense, Brandon." "I gave you a spa day," he said again, as if it were a winning argument. "I organized dinner. I spent money on you. I tried to make your birthday special. And you were focusing on one little joke." There it was. The sentence I needed to hear. "You spent money on me?" I asked slowly. "You really want to go there?" I stood up, anger pushing me forward. "Who pays the rent when you are short?" I asked. "Who covers the bills when your projects fall through? Who bought that camera you use? Who pays when we go out and you do not have a dollar to your name?" He flushed. "I thought you did that because you cared," he said. "If money is the issue, I will pay you back." I laughed once, bitter and humorless. "It is not about the money. It is about respect. It is about you treating me like a person, not a punchline." His jaw tightened. "Our videos are not ridiculous," he snapped. "You are being dramatic. Get out of this room," I said quietly. Now, that night, I texted my best friend, Tiffany, who had missed the birthday dinner because she was traveling for work. I told her everything from the fake proposal to the argument in our bedroom. She called me immediately. "Vanessa, that is beyond cruel," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "I never liked how he talked to you, but this is disgusting." "We have been together 6 years," I said, choking up. "We live together. Our lives are tangled up in bills and furniture and habits. What am I supposed to do, just walk away?" Tiffany did not hesitate. "You are supposed to do whatever you need to protect your peace," she said. "If you stay with him after this, what does that tell him? That he can do anything to you, and you will stay because of history." After I hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed in silence. The word leave floated around my mind, hovering, waiting. Saying it out loud the next day made it real. "I think I am going to leave him," I whispered to myself in the bathroom mirror before work. My reflection looked back at me, eyes swollen and tired, but there was something new there too, resolve. That afternoon, I received a text from Brandon while I was at home in the bedroom, and he was in the living room. "I am going to stay at Jerome's this weekend," he wrote. "You need some time alone to calm down and realize how unfair you are being to me." I stared at the message, my hand tightening around the phone. Unfair. The word burned. I typed my response carefully. "Unfair? You humiliated me in front of all our friends. You pretended to propose so you could record my reaction. You refused to apologize and told me to relax. You are not the victim here, Brandon. You are not welcome in this apartment anymore. Do not come back." His reply came quickly. "Seriously? You're going to kick me out of my own place?" That made me laugh out loud. "Your place?" I thought. The place I had paid for half the time he could not? I did not respond. 15 minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. I peeked through the blinds and saw him tossing a duffel bag into his car before driving away. I sat down on the bed and took a deep breath. It was over. At least, the part where we lived together was. The rest would take longer. I called my parents that night and told them everything. The prank, the argument, the way he tried to flip the story. My mother was furious. "That boy was always polite, but something about him never sat right with me," she said. "You were not an idiot, baby. You were kind and hopeful. He is the one who abused that." My father, a civil litigation attorney in Atlanta, was silent for a few seconds, then spoke calmly. "Vanessa, what he did to you in that restaurant may constitute intentional infliction of emotional distress, especially if he posts that recording. We could pursue a lawsuit." "Dad, I do not know if I want to drag this out," I said, rubbing my forehead. "I just want to forget this happened." "Forgetting is not always justice," he replied. "He set out to humiliate you in public for entertainment. His friend recorded it. They intended to post it. There are consequences for that." His voice was not angry, it was focused. "Just think about it. On Monday, I called my boss and asked for a few days off to move out. She had been at the dinner that night, sitting near the end of the table. "Take all the time you need, Vanessa," she said immediately. "For the record, everyone at the office is on your side. What he did was cruel." Her matter-of-fact support made my chest ache with gratitude. I spent that day pulling my life out of the apartment drawer by drawer. Clothes, personal documents, books, family photos. Anything that was fully mine went into boxes. I left the shared furniture, electronics, and decor. I did not want the couch where I had sat next to someone who saw me as content. I did not want the television we had argued in front of. I wanted a clean break. At one point, I tried to text Brandon to tell him I was moving out and that he could return to the apartment afterward. The message did not deliver. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. He had blocked my number. The person who had humiliated me and left to sleep at Jerome's had blocked me as if I were the problem. My stomach twisted. I texted Jerome instead. "Hey, just letting you know Brandon can have the apartment back soon. I am moving out." Jerome replied almost immediately. "He is not here," he wrote. "I have not seen him since your birthday dinner." I stared at the message. "But he said he was staying with you," I typed. "No, he has not been here," Jerome sent back. A chill crept up my spine. The answer arrived the next day. I was at work trying to focus on a report when a text came from an unknown number. "Hi Vanessa, this is Leon. I work with Brandon at the ad agency. We met a couple of times when you picked him up." My heart thudded. "I heard you were looking for him," Leon wrote. "I think he is staying at Courtney's place." Courtney. The name hit me like a punch. Courtney was a younger analyst at the agency where Brandon picked up projects. She had started about 8 months earlier. I remembered meeting her during a happy hour. She was outgoing, quick to laugh at Brandon's jokes, friendly with everyone. I had liked her. Courtney from the agency? I asked. Yes, Leon replied. Look, I do not know your situation. But they have been arriving together, leaving together, and they act real close. It has been that way for a few months. I closed my eyes, leaning back in my chair as the pieces fell into place. I called Tiffany as soon as my hands stopped shaking enough to dial. She answered on the first ring. What happened? She asked. I told her about Leon's messages and Courtney. That man is trash, Tiffany said flatly when I finished. And she is no better. I am so sorry, Ness. I stared at my computer screen, seeing nothing. It was not just the prank, I said quietly. He has been cheating on me for months. I paid rent while he stayed out with her. All that time he was distant, always on his phone, always too tired. It all makes sense now. That night, Brandon called from a different number. I almost did not answer, but anger pushed my thumb toward the green button. What do you want, Brandon? I asked, my voice cold. We need to talk about the apartment, he said, skipping any greeting. The rent is too high for one person. You cannot just leave and stick me with everything. Of course. Not an apology. Not remorse. Logistics. We are both on the lease, I said. Tomorrow I will call the landlord and ask to break it. We will pay the fee and go our separate ways. There was a pause. Where am I supposed to live? He demanded. You can move in with Courtney, I said. Silence crackled through the line. Courtney, he finally asked. His voice had a strained edge. What Courtney? I let out a small, bitter laugh. Stop insulting my intelligence. I know you are staying at her place. I know you have been arriving and leaving work together. I know you have been cheating on me for months. Courtney is just a friend, he said quickly. We work together. Sometimes we leave at the same time. That is it. I cut him off. People have seen you leaving her building at 7 a.m, Brandon. Do you think I am a fool? He sighed. Who told you that? Whoever it was is lying. It does not matter who told me, I said. What matters is that we are done. I am calling the landlord tomorrow. You can keep the furniture, the television, all of it. I just want out. He started to talk again, but I ended the call. When he tried to ring back, I blocked the number. The following days moved quickly. My parents arrived with a moving truck on Wednesday. My father walked into the apartment, scanned the space, and asked in a low voice, Where is he? He is not here, I said. And he is not coming back before I leave. My father nodded once. Good for him, he muttered. Because I do not trust myself to be civil. Neighbors peeked out of their doors as we carried boxes down the hallway. Miss Ruth from across the hall came out with a dish towel over her shoulder. You leaving, baby? She asked. I nodded, unable to speak around the lump in my throat. Because of that boy? She said, her eyes soft. I nodded again. She squeezed my hand. You deserve better than the way I have heard him talk to you. You are doing the right thing. Her words sliced and soothed at the same time. Even the neighbor had seen what I had tried to pretend was not there. By late afternoon, my room at my parents' house was full of boxes and suitcases. My old posters were still on the walls. It felt like stepping back into a previous version of myself, one who had not yet learned how much damage love could do. That night, lying in my childhood bed staring at the ceiling, I cried again. Not for Brandon, but for the years I had given him, the energy I had poured into someone who treated me like a convenience. That was when the idea came. It started as a small, sharp thought and grew until I could not ignore it. Brandon had humiliated me publicly with a fake proposal and filmed my pain for entertainment. He had talked for years about wanting to be a father more than anything. What if I made him feel what it was like to have his deepest dream dangled in front of him and then ripped away? The thought made my stomach flip. Half guilt, half dark satisfaction. I called Tiffany the next day and told her what I was considering. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. You know, that is a little wild, she said. But it is also brilliant. Do you want my honest opinion? Always, I said. He deserves to feel something, she replied. He walked all over you for years and never looked back. I am not saying revenge will fix everything, but if you're going to do this, I am in your corner. I will help you however I can. I spent Friday planning. I found a photo of a positive pregnancy test online, opened an editing program, replaced the name on the small label with mine, and changed the date. Then I drafted the message carefully, reading it over and over until it sounded right. That evening, my hands trembled slightly as I pressed send. Brandon, I wrote. I need to tell you something. Despite everything that happened, you have a right to know. I am pregnant. It is yours. I am having this baby with or without you, but you will need to handle child support. My father is already preparing the paperwork. I attached the edited photo and set the phone down on my nightstand. It buzzed less than 5 minutes later. What? He wrote. Vanessa, are you serious? I am going to be a dad? Oh my God. Messages flooded in. I promise I will step up. We need to talk in person. I will be a good father. We can fix this. I let the messages pile up unanswered for a full day, fighting the urge to respond. Finally, on Saturday morning, I replied. We can talk at the apartment tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I am not coming alone. Tiffany will be with me. Okay, he wrote. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for giving me this chance. I stared at his words, feeling a strange mix of triumph and sadness. Part of me still wished this was the man I had thought he was the night we met at that party. Sunday afternoon at exactly 3, Tiffany and I walked into the now mostly empty apartment. My heart beat fast, but my mind felt strangely clear. Brandon was already there, standing up from the sofa as we stepped inside. He held a huge bouquet of flowers, and a shopping bag from an upscale store sat on the floor. His face was lit with nervous excitement. Vanessa, he said, stepping toward me. I took a small step back. Hi, Brandon, I answered. Hi, Tiffany, he added, trying for a smile. She nodded but did not return it. These are for you, he said, handing me the bouquet. I also bought prenatal vitamins, a book about pregnancy, and a little stuffed bear. I know it is early, but I could not help it. I looked down at the flowers and gifts. They were suddenly evidence of how much he valued an imaginary child compared to the real woman standing in front of him. Sit down, I said, gesturing to the sofa. He sat on the edge, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Tiffany stood near the door with her arms folded. I broke up with Courtney, he said quickly. As soon as you told me about the baby. I know I messed up. I know I have been selfish. But this changes everything, Vanessa. It is bigger than our problems. We can make this work. I will find a better paying job. I will help with everything. We can move back in together, raise our son together. He was breathing fast, his eyes pleading. And Courtney? I asked, my voice neutral. Forget about her, he said, almost dismissively. She was begging me to stay, but it was a mistake. You are the mother of my child. You are the one I want. The words should have hurt, but they did not. They simply confirmed everything I already knew about what I had meant to him all along. Convenience when it suited him, priority only when it served his needs. I watched him for a moment, then spoke softly. Brandon, do you remember my birthday? He blinked, thrown by the change of topic. Yes, he said slowly. Do you remember what you did? I asked. I already told you I was sorry, he said, shifting. You never actually apologized, I replied. You said it was a joke. You said I was dramatic. You told me to relax. You said you spent money on me, so I should not complain. His shoulders slumped slightly. I was wrong, he said. I see that now. You humiliated me in front of our friends, in front of strangers, I continued. You pretended to give me the thing I wanted most, just to rip it away for a reaction. You recorded my pain. He swallowed hard. Where are you going with this? He asked quietly. I stood, set the flowers gently on the coffee table, and took a slow step toward him. I thought about that night for weeks, I said. I thought about how you made me feel, small, foolish, disposable. And then I thought about what mattered to you more than anything. You spent years telling me you could not wait to be a father. His eyes widened as the pieces began to come together. Vanessa, he whispered. No, it is a prank, I said, my voice suddenly sharp. There is no baby. There never was. He stared at me as if I had slapped him. You are lying, he said, standing abruptly. You sent me a picture of the test. Tiffany spoke up for the first time, her tone almost casual. Online images and editing software are powerful things, she said. Brandon's face cycled through confusion, rage, and anguish before he dropped back onto the sofa, burying his face in his hands. His shoulders began to shake. How could you do this? He whispered after a moment, lifting his head. His eyes were wet. You know how much I want to be a father. You played with something important. You played with a life. I held his gaze. You knew how much I wanted to marry you, I said. You played with that. You turned it into a joke. I wanted you to feel a fraction of what I felt in that restaurant. He shook his head. It is not the same. To me, it is close enough, I replied. I am going to sue you, he burst out suddenly. This was cruel. You lied to me. I have proof. I almost laughed. You might have a small problem with that, I said. My father is already suing you and Jerome for public humiliation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. You set up that fake proposal to hurt me for entertainment. You filmed it without my consent. You intended to post it. Jerome helped. You will both answer for that. His mouth fell open. You are bluffing, he said. I wish I were, I answered. The papers have already been filed. You will be served soon, if you have not been already. Brandon's skin went pale. Vanessa, do not do this, he pleaded, standing again. This will ruin me. It will ruin Jerome. I am sorry. I was foolish. I was selfish. Just punish me if you need to, but do not drag us through court. You cheated on me for months, I said. You used my money to keep a roof over your head. You humiliated me publicly. And now that there are consequences, suddenly you know what responsibility feels like. His eyes filled with fresh tears. I never used you, he said weakly. I loved you in my own way. I shook my head. You loved what I did for you. You loved having someone split the rent, buy your equipment, support your dreams while you treated me like a prop. I walked to the door and opened it. One more thing, I said. I called the landlord this morning. The lease is broken. You have 2 weeks to get your things out. After that, the apartment goes back to the management company. He stared at me in horror. You already canceled it? He asked. And the fee? $3,000, I said. Half is yours. You owe me $1,500. He dragged a hand over his face. I do not have $1,500, he said. That is not my problem, I replied calmly. You owe me. My father will be in touch. Vanessa, please, he said, his voice cracking. Do not walk out like this. We can fix it. I will change. I will go to therapy. I will do whatever you want. Please do not leave. For a moment, a shadow of the boy from the party flickered across his face. The one who made jokes about queso and dreams. Then I remembered every comment that cut me down, every bill I paid while he stayed out late, every minute of that restaurant humiliation. Goodbye, Brandon, I said. Tiffany opened the door wider, and we stepped into the hallway. As I pulled the door closed, we heard him sob on the other side, a loud, desperate sound that followed us to the elevator. The lawsuit moved faster than I expected. My father assembled witness statements from friends who had been at the restaurant, copies of text messages where Brandon mocked my reaction, and a screen recording of the video Jerome had already posted online before deleting it. They had uploaded the prank to their social media pages, expecting praise and views. Instead, the comments were overwhelmingly furious. People called them cruel, heartless, disgusting. Someone had downloaded the video before they removed it, and copies were already circulating. When the case finally settled, the judge did not seem amused by the "it was just a prank" defense. With the evidence of my emotional distress, including proof that I had started therapy afterward, our attorney had a solid argument. Brandon and Jerome agreed to pay $50,000 each rather than face a drawn-out trial and possible higher damages. The money was enough for a down payment on a small condo in a good Atlanta neighborhood. I chose a place with big windows, light wood floors, and just enough space for me. The money felt like justice, but it was not the best part. The best part was watching the social consequences unfold from a distance. Their prank video had already gone viral for all the wrong reasons. Every time they tried to post a new clip, people flooded the comments with reminders of what they had done. Some of Brandon's freelance clients quietly stopped calling. No company wanted to be associated with someone whose name had become shorthand for cruelty. Jerome complained loudly online about cancel culture. The more he complained, the worse it got. I focused on my own life. I kept going to therapy, where my therapist helped me untangle years of conditioning. We talked about why I had ignored the early red flags, why I had equated sacrifice with love, why a part of me had felt I needed to earn basic respect. She helped me rebuild my self-worth piece by piece, not as someone's girlfriend, but as a person on my own. Work became a place of stability and growth. My boss watched how I navigated the upheaval with quiet strength and offered me new responsibilities. A few months later, I received a promotion that came with a raise and more autonomy. I decorated my new condo slowly, choosing furniture that felt like me, soft gray couch, navy accent pillows, framed art I actually liked. Every time I turned the key in the door, I felt a small spark of pride. This was mine. I paid for it. No one else's name was on the lease or the deed. 3 months after the lawsuit settled, Tiffany and I took a long-planned trip together. Instead of the overseas vacation we once imagined, we flew to New Orleans and then up to Chicago, eating good food, listening to live music, and laughing until our faces hurt. We stayed up in hotel rooms talking about everything we had survived in our 20s, including men who had not deserved us. For the first time in a long time, I felt light. I met Elliot at a networking event for financial and tech professionals in Midtown Atlanta. I was standing near the coffee table, checking my phone between sessions, when a man with kind eyes and a navy blazer stepped up beside me. "I am trying to decide if I need more caffeine or just a nap," he said. "What is your professional recommendation?" I smiled despite myself. "More caffeine now, nap later," I said. "I am Vanessa." He extended his hand. "Elliot," he said. "Nice to meet you." We ended up sitting next to each other during a panel and talking afterward about everything from budgeting apps to our favorite childhood cartoons. Elliot worked as a project manager for a regional bank. He listened more than he talked, asked thoughtful questions, and did not dominate the conversation. When he said, "I enjoyed talking with you. Would you like to get coffee sometime?" It felt calm and respectful, not like a performance. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into lunches during the workweek and long walks on Saturday afternoons. Elliot did not make grand declarations or promise me the world. He showed up on time. He remembered details from our conversations. When I told him about Brandon, he did not flinch or rush to say something comforting. He just listened, then said quietly, "You deserved better than that. I am glad you are out of it." I believed him. Our relationship grew slowly on purpose. I had promised myself that I would never again ignore my own needs for the sake of keeping someone. Elliot encouraged my independence. When I told him I had therapy on Tuesday evenings, he said, "I am glad you are taking care of yourself. Not, do you really need that?" When I worked late, he asked what he could bring me for dinner instead of complaining. It was not a fairy tale. It was a partnership. About 10 months after we started dating, I was in my condo making dinner when my phone buzzed with a text from Tiffany. "Turn on the local news right now," she wrote. Curious, I wiped my hands on a towel and grabbed the remote. When I flipped to the channel she mentioned, my heart jolted. On the screen were mugshots of Brandon Wright and Jerome Phillips. Underneath, the word "arrested" stretched in bold letters. The reporter's voice was calm and professional. "Two men known for posting prank videos online were arrested today," she said. According to authorities, a recent prank left a woman hospitalized after a severe panic attack. Brandon Wright, 30, and Jerome Phillips, 28, faced charges including aggravated assault, disorderly conduct, and reckless endangerment. If convicted, they could face up to 3 years in prison. The news cut to footage of an ambulance, police cars, and a woman being loaded onto a stretcher. My stomach twisted as I imagined her terror. Then the segment shifted to clips compiled from earlier videos, old pranks of theirs. One of them was the fake proposal prank with me, pulled from a repost someone had uploaded months ago. The caption under the montage read, "Pattern of harmful behavior." My phone rang. Tiffany did not bother with hello. "Are you seeing this?" she practically shouted. "I am watching," I said quietly. "They did not learn a thing." "This is exactly what you said would happen," she replied. "People like that keep going until someone stops them." Elliot appeared in the doorway of the kitchen, concern on his face. "Everything all right?" he asked. I nodded toward the television. "Remember my ex?" I said. "The one with the cruel prank?" "Of course," he said. I pointed at the screen. He and his friend just got arrested for another prank that sent a woman to the hospital. Elliot shook his head slowly. "What a waste," he said. "I am sorry you ever had to be connected to that." "I am not connected anymore," I said. "Not really. This is just confirmation." In the days that followed, the story blew up nationally. The video of the prank that had caused the panic attack leaked online, and people were outraged. Commentators on talk shows and podcasts discussed the ethics of prank culture, using Brandon and Jerome as examples of what happens when humanity is sacrificed for views. Old clips resurfaced, including the one of my fake proposal. Strangers analyzed their behavior, their callous laughter, the way they minimized their victims' reactions. Their attorney argued in court that the videos were meant to be humorous and that things had simply gone too far. The prosecution pointed to repeated patterns of disregard for consent and emotional well-being. The jury did not seem impressed by the just a prank defense. In the end, Brandon and Jerome were convicted and sentenced to 2.5 years in prison each, along with fines and a restraining order in favor of the woman who had been hospitalized. Life went on for me. I received another promotion at work after successfully leading a complex client project. I bought new furniture for my condo, this time choosing pieces purely because they made me happy. Tiffany and I planned another trip, this time to the West Coast. I kept going to therapy, even when things felt fine, because I knew now that maintenance was as important as crisis management. Elliot remained steady. When I had bad dreams about the restaurant or woke up with my heart pounding for no clear reason, he would hold me quietly until my breathing slowed. He never tried to rush my healing or make it about him. When he made mistakes, because everyone does, he apologized sincerely and changed his behavior. I did not have to beg for respect. It was the foundation. 2 years after our first coffee on a Friday night, I stood in the kitchen of my condo stirring a pot of pasta sauce. The soft glow from the under-cabinet lights illuminated the ringless hand stirring the spoon. And for once, I was not thinking about absence. I was thinking about the warm smell of garlic, the playlist humming in the background, the man I loved who would be walking through my door any minute. The doorbell rang. I wiped my hands and went to open it. Elliot stood there with a bouquet of lilies and that gentle smile that made my chest loosen. "Hey, beautiful," he said. "Something smells amazing." "Come in," I said, stepping aside. "Dinner is almost ready." We ate at the small table by the window, talking about our week, about Tiffany's latest work story, about a documentary we wanted to watch. It felt simple and safe. After we finished eating, I started to stand. "I will grab dessert," I said. Elliot reached across the table and took my hand. His fingers were slightly cold, just enough for me to notice. He swallowed, his eyes searching my face. "Before dessert, there is something I want to say," he said. My heart skipped, but not from dread this time. From recognition. He got up from his chair and came around the table, then lowered himself onto one knee on the kitchen floor. For a moment, time bent. I saw another man on another knee in another place, a chorus of whispered, "Oh my God," behind me. This time, there was only the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of my own breathing. Elliot looked up at me, eyes bright with emotion but calm. "Vanessa," he said, his voice steady but soft. "From the day I met you at that event, you have amazed me. Your strength, your intelligence, the way you rebuilt your life after someone tried to break you down. You are the strongest person I know, and you are also the kindest." Tears rose in my eyes, but they were different tears than the ones I had cried in that restaurant. These were clean, grateful. "I love you," he continued. "I love the way you laugh, the way you care for the people you love, the way you stand up for yourself now. I want to spend the rest of my life supporting you, growing with you, and building a future that is ours, not just mine. I want to be your partner in everything." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box, and opened it. Inside was a simple, stunning ring that caught the light beautifully. "Vanessa Price," he said, his voice catching just slightly. "Will you marry me?" For a second, all I could do was nod, tears spilling down my cheeks. "Yes," I finally whispered. Then louder, with a laugh, "Yes. Yes." My hands were steady as he slipped the ring onto my finger. My manicure, as always now, was neat and perfect, this time for me, not for a fantasy I was chasing. He stood up, and I threw my arms around him. We stood in the middle of my kitchen, holding each other, both of us laughing and crying at the same time. "I wanted to ask you here," he murmured into my hair. "In your home, just the two of us. No crowd, no cameras, no pressure. I wanted it to be exactly what you deserved." I pulled back just enough to look at him and said, "It is perfect." Later that night, after the calls to my parents and Tiffany, after the happy tears and congratulations, I sat alone for a minute on the balcony outside my living room. The city lights of Atlanta stretched out around me. I looked down at the ring on my finger and thought about the girl I had been 6 years earlier, crying on a sidewalk in Buckhead, convinced her world had ended. That girl had believed love meant enduring disrespect, that loyalty meant paying bills for someone who would not pay her back, that wanting marriage made her desperate. She had confused stability with dependency and attention with love. That version of me died the night Brandon shouted, "It is a prank," in a crowded restaurant. In her place, slowly and painfully, someone stronger emerged. Brandon and Jerome were exactly where their choices had led them. In prison, facing the consequences they had worked so hard to avoid. I did not celebrate their pain, but I did recognize the justice in it. People like that do not stop on their own. They keep pushing lines until someone draws a boundary they cannot cross without a cost. In my case, that cost came in the form of lawyers, settlements, and lost opportunities. For the woman whose panic attack landed her in the hospital, it came in the form of criminal charges. As for me, I was finally exactly where I deserved to be. In a home with my name alone on the paperwork, in a career I had built through my own effort, surrounded by friends who had shown up for me when I was broken, engaged to a man who treated me with care instead of contempt. I was not perfect. I still had scars, memories, and moments of fear. But I had learned to choose myself. People talk about karma like it is some mysterious force floating around in the universe. To me, karma was much more concrete. It was my father, calmly filing a lawsuit when I did not have the strength to fight. It was strangers on the internet refusing to laugh at someone else's humiliation. It was the woman who pressed charges when a prank went too far. And in my own life, karma was the day I got tired of being someone's doormat and walked away. When the masks finally fell, I saw Brandon clearly, not as the charming man from that party, not as the struggling artist I had tried to support, but as someone who had never truly valued me at all. Seeing that truth hurt, but it also freed me. I chose to step into that freedom and build a new life, piece by piece. That choice, more than anything he did, is what changed everything. I stood on my balcony that night, the cool air on my skin, the weight of the ring on my finger, and I felt a calm I had never known with him. The past was still there, etched into my memory, but it no longer defined me. I had survived the joke that was never funny, the betrayal that cut deep, and the years of shrinking myself to make someone else comfortable. Now, I was done shrinking. Inside, Elliot called my name, his voice warm. I took one last look at the city, at the life I had rebuilt, and stepped back into the light of my home. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.